K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level, or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com. K98Talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98Talk.com.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect us to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those on the take. Attorney General's lying even while
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rick Robinson. I'm the host of America Off the Rails. We do have a lot we're going to be getting to tonight. I know I usually try to start our show a lot closer to 6 o'clock. Sadly, can I just say that I'm sick and tired of winter? People in Oklahoma do not know how to drive in the snow. We had maybe an eighth of an inch of accumulation by the time I was driving home. The governor of the state of Oklahoma had already declared a state of emergency. Okay. And all of these people, they all over the news, don't follow too closely, leave space between you and the other car in front of you, and all of these idiots weaving in and out of traffic and continually cutting me off to the point where they've got maybe a foot of room between me and their bumper. And they're smaller than me because I drive a Ford F-150. So I kept just waiting until, my truck finally decided it was hungry and decided to take a bite out of a hybrid that doesn't realize, hey, there's at least a little bit of slick stuff on the snow on the roads here. We probably shouldn't be driving like a dumbass. So needless to say, it took me longer than usual to get home, and then it's just been one of those days. Honestly, I am discouraged. As you, for those of you listening on TuneIn or iHeart or a lot of the other places, you may not be able to see the title because sometimes, well, I know TuneIn doesn't really carry it at all. We haven't been able to figure out how to make that happen yet. iHeart does, but usually it doesn't update until later because they get cranky when I don't put descriptions in, and I usually don't do those until after the show because it doesn't really make much sense for me to put it in ahead of time, because occasionally my shows, while I try to semi-script them, they don't always go the way I planned them to. However, I think today's show will mostly stay on topic because it's just I don't know. I am disappointed. Is anybody else, and this is mainly, even when Bush 43 was still in office, there towards the end, I got up in the morning and I kept feeling like this isn't the world I went to sleep in. This isn't the world I grew up in. At some point, we have taken that left turn into the Twilight Zone, and it's really starting to feel that way. And it's really starting to annoy the crap out of me because it just seems like no matter what we do, no matter how hard we try to fight, nothing is ever going to change. And there are a few things that make me feel that way. Okay, first of all, yes, I am conservative. No, I am not a very large Ann Coulter fan, but occasionally she does kind of hit the nail right straight on the head. And sadly, as I was driving home today, she happened to be doing a guest appearance on the Sean Hannity show. And she did mention that thanks to the recent folding of the Republican majority in both the House and the Senate, like a cheap damn suit, we will probably be under Democratic rule from now until the end of time. For anyone who's wondering what I'm talking about, it's the story nobody's there was all this talk about it at first when everybody thought there was going to be the government shutdown that wasn't. But now all of a sudden it's buried on pages like 4 of even the internet blogs and internet magazines and things like that. Which is the fact that since, and to use words I've seen and read, Boehner and McConnell decided to be the adults in the room and go ahead and fully fund the most useless department ever, which would be, which one again? Oh yeah, Department of Homeland Security. You know, that one that just got made up, about 13 years ago? Maybe 14? Yeah, the one that we got along with pretty much just fine up until 2001 without. Can anybody tell me why we couldn't just tweak the stuff that was already there instead of making this new monstrosity? I mean, look what's happened to the Secret Service since the DHS has taken hold of them. They are the laughingstock of the world. They have been caught in scandal after scandal after scandal, and that's because we took what worked and we broke it, all because of the fact that we had some things that needed to be tweaked with our national security. We already had the National Security Agency, Central Intelligence Agency, FBI. I mean, come on, how many different alphabet soup names do we need? And why do we keep having to give the government more and more power? Anyway, back to why I am as discouraged as I am. Things happened this week. Again, one of them nobody's really been talking about is this whole fully funding of the Department of Homeland Security. This means that the Republican majority no longer has any way to stop the funding of, and sorry, Grouchy, I'm going to steal your word, but Obama's crimmigration policy. That is now fully funded. For all of you that are Obama fans and Obama supporters, and you bought into the whole, we're going to make sure that they only have the ability to do certain things, and we're just going to make sure that they can come out of the shadows and do this and do that, but they're not going to be able to vote. Bullshit. Bullshit. Just saying, because we just basically de facto got like 39 million de facto illegal immigrant voters. Anybody remember what happened when, it was done the semi-correct way in the 80s and Reagan signed amnesty into law? California, a decidedly red state up until that very moment, which in that instance was actually blue. Let's not forget the Republican color of choice used to be blue. I'm sure it's changed before now, but it always seemed weird to me that it changed again. Sorry, I digress. But anyway, blue. It was blue. Then it suddenly swung red. All because all of these people that couldn't vote before suddenly had the right to vote. Or the ability to vote. I'm not sure if they ever actually even got the right to vote the last time it happened, but it sure happened anyway. And despite Obama's protestations to the contrary, there's already been ample documentation of things not working as intended. Like these folks getting certain things like federal tax refunds that they weren't supposed to be eligible for. So if you really think that this new policy isn't going to lead to some de facto voting, I have a nice bridge in Brooklyn I'd like to sell you. I'll even sell it to you cheap. Don't mind the fact the deed's written in crayon. The printer was broken, working on short notice here. So yeah, that's problem number one. Nobody's talking about the fact that at this point, we are actually, with this, and now the recent passing of net neutrality, thanks to a group of 5 people within another alphabet soup agency that was only supposed to be temporary, the FCC, I just honestly... I hate to say it, but I'm getting tired of fighting, because anymore I fight with people on the left, I fight with people on the right, I fight with people in the middle, and it doesn't do any good. How many times can I go to battle and come back beaten, battered, and bruised, and realize that the people that I'm fighting for in D.C. could give a damn less what happens to me, you, or anybody else, because they're getting to hang on to their power? Let's be real honest. The Democrats want immigration reform. They wanted the amnesty because now they got the votes. The Republican Party wanted the amnesty because now they get cheap labor. And we're stuck in the middle. We have how many millions of Americans out of the workforce right now? Been out of it so long they don't even count them in the national unemployed numbers any longer. That is another thing that pisses me off. I am tired of this number sleight of hand BS that we've had going on for God knows how long. Probably longer than I can remember. It's probably definitely been going on longer than I gave a damn about those particular numbers, because let's face it, I'm old, but I'm not that old. Up until recently, I was just more worried about trying to make sure that my family had a roof over their head. But now I'm actually seriously concerned about not only the future of our entire nation, but our way of life. And nobody cares. At least nobody that's big enough to do anything about it. Take a look. You see all of the stories all over the place about Netanyahu, and we'll get to that in a minute, because I've got some disturbing things about that too. But all of this immigration stuff that nobody's talking about anymore, and all of this funding of, because of the funding of the DHS, nobody's talking about it anymore. But if you go find those stories that are buried in the middle of the blogs, they're the ones with 4, 5, 6,000 comments. But nobody's talking about them anymore. This is the part of this that concerns me, because our argument up until now has been we've let the media decide what they run with because they're more worried about what attracts viewership or readership, so they want to do what sells the most ad space. I don't even think that's the case anymore, because those, if that was still the model, those things that had 4, 5, 6,000 comments would be on the front pages somewhere, because even in the middle of the damn thing, people are still finding it, because it's what we care about. And at this point, everything else that we're fighting over is a moot point, because if we don't stop turning over our country to people that don't come in here the right way and don't realize how important it is to do things the right way, then all we're going to do is eventually cease to exist as a nation. It really is that simple. And nobody is talking about it. At least nobody in the mainstream media. I've heard Hannity talk about it. I've heard a few other people talk about it. But the scary thing is, there are plenty of people that I know that are even libertarian that are like, oh, this immigration thing, yeah, not really that big a deal. We should have open borders. You must have been part of the crowd that thought that passing the dope laws in Colorado was a good idea too, because obviously you were smoking some stuff before you came up with that idea. Because open borders don't work when there's no security in place. But we can't even have that argument anymore, because right now we're too busy trying to focus on being able to survive. What are we going to do when all of these people that weren't supposed to be able to start voting suddenly start voting? Because I guarantee you, they're not voting R and they're not voting L. They're voting D for Democrat. Because they always do. Because the Democrats are able to push the narrative that they're for the little guy. Anybody ever stop to realize that all of these damn congressmen and senators that have the D's behind their names that are talking about how they're for the little guy and they stand for the little guy and they want to make sure that everybody succeeds, they are part of the 1%. I don't care whether they have an R by their name, an I by their name, or a D by their name. They are part of the 1%. This is the system that we have designed. We have abdicated our responsibilities, and now we are paying the consequences. We didn't hold the media accountable when we still had the ability to do it. We didn't hold our politicians accountable when we still had the ability to do it. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. These politicians commit treason on a daily basis, and nobody does a damn thing about it. And I want to know why. Except for the fact that they're selling themselves like prostitutes to the highest bidder. I want to know why we aren't doing anything about it. And I'm not, before anybody starts freaking out, I'm not talking about picking up a gun and going and shooting someplace up. I'm talking about why are we not exercising the constitutional rights that we still have. As a nation, when you and I both know that whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, 9 times out of 10, you're still going to have more in common with each other than you do with the idiots in D.C. Now, yeah, there are those of you that are the 1%, maybe 2% at most, of the people that are, the outliers, whether it's the extreme left or the extreme right. But 97 to 98% of us, we all want the same things. So why can we not stop fighting long enough to make sure they happen? I'll tell you why. Because we woke up in the damn Twilight Zone. We have abdicated our responsibilities. We have fallen asleep at the switch. And now the government is running like crazy. Because now that it has absolute power corrupts absolutely, and we keep handing them more and more. Case in point, Obamacare. Case in point, net neutrality. What was broken about the internet that the government had to step in? What was so apparently broken with that we had no choice but to step in? Even Al Gore would be looking at this going, why is the government getting involved in that there interwebs that I made? Because, nobody, there was nothing wrong with it. Now we've given control of it to the FCC. It's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen tomorrow. But at some point, they will regulate the life out of the internet. The internet is where all of the new business ideas are coming from. Look at all the business models that have popped up from the type of stuff that I'm doing right here. This is a business model. We are marketing it. We are trying to sell it. We are finding ways to get it out there so that we can make money off of it. Not because it was our ultimate goal, because it's a natural progression, because if we can make money off of it, we can do more to make a difference. There are like-minded people around that we are working with as well that are owners and participants in other stations, and that's why you will find here on K98Talk.com a wide variety of programming, political and otherwise, that doesn't necessarily all come from the same place, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build people up and trying to get people's attention by making sure that everybody has multiple outlets. Because somebody's got to do it. We're running out of time. We're just sitting here doing nothing, and they're taking everything away from us. You can call me crazy all you want, but I've seen it too many times, and it's happening again. Those who do not understand history are doomed to repeat it, and we do it time and time and time again. These people are doing everything they can to hang on to their power, and we are letting them do it. They commit treason on a daily basis, yet we do nothing. Some of you right now are asking me, hey Rick, how can you possibly say that our politicians that we send to D.C. are committing treason when they put the interest of a lobbyist above the interest of their constituency? They are violating the oath they took when they took office. Violation of your oath and failure to uphold the laws of the United States of America while you are a sworn representative of this nation is treason. If anybody wanted to make a case that people needed to be hanged, it would be everybody at this point, because they all do it. If we were still hanging people for treason, as far as I'm concerned at this point, short of a few of them, we could hang them all and start over. That doesn't have anything to do with the color of their skin or their political affiliation. Simple fact of the matter is they sold us out a long time ago, and some of them have been in there so long that it is apparent they sold us out. Case in point, for any of you who missed it last night, we did try to air the Netanyahu speech. It was actually my first chance to really listen to it. It was a few minutes before we ran it. Sadly, we did lose the feed for a little bit, so I wound up having to pull it down because there was a space, and for some reason, the system would not let me make it go away. But, now, that being said, very disturbing things happened both during and after said speech. During one of the points that Netanyahu was trying to make about the fact that even if Israel had to stand alone, Israel was going to stand. When the rest of the chamber, both Democrat and Republican, stood up and applauded, if you look, you can find a YouTube video where they zoomed in to see what Nancy Pelosi was doing. She stood up just like everybody else, but as she completed standing up, she turned her back to Netanyahu. You could see, because she turned her head slower than she turned her back, that she had been mouthing to someone, "I just can't listen to this anymore." I'm pretty good at reading lips, and it only happened for like 2 seconds, but I'm almost positive that's what she said. Either that or it's going to be a pretty close derivative of that, because somebody leaned in and she actually repeated it shortly after that. But, that being said, with the fact that he didn't do anything this administration was afraid he was going to do, which is out them for the fact that they've been telling people that if Israeli planes try to attack Iran, they may or may not wind up shooting them down. They actually mentioned a friendly fire incident and said it would be that same situation possibly, but in reverse by the time it was all said and done. Now, I have a question about this whole Iran thing. Why is it such a bad thing that a country that is attacked on a daily basis, on all sides, is trying to tell the world, if Iran gets nuclear weapons, we are all going to die? I mean, look at the appeasement mentality. During Bush 43's tenure in office, people were telling everybody what a bad idea it was going to be if North Korea was able to acquire nuclear weapons. What happened? North Korea acquired nuclear weapons, because even then we had started to adopt this whole appeasement philosophy instead of this, there's only certain people that should be allowed to have this thing until you can prove to me that you know how to behave like a rational adult. And let's face it, Mr. Kim Jong-un probably wouldn't know a rational adult if one kicked him in the ass, much less be able to behave like one himself. So we've tried this appeasement mentality before. It didn't work. It doesn't work. And now we have to worry about the fact that really the only thing that's keeping us from being able to glow in the dark, eventually everywhere, but especially on the coastlines, is the fact that so far North Korea hasn't been able to produce a decent ICBM because they have nuclear material and nuclear warheads now. Do you really think it's a good idea that we start easing sanctions on Iran and allow them to continue this nuclear program? I mean, from what I heard, I think the overall plan at some point was some sort of reduced sanctions over the next 10 years. Do you think and this is going to be exactly what Netanyahu said, but I can't help it. Do you think that if Iran has more money, they're going to not spend more money on their nuclear program? Because they want to take over the world. And I'm not talking about the Iranian people. I'm talking about the Iranian government. The Iranian government is a part of the same group that believes if they can wash the world in blood, it will usher in the second coming of their Savior. Oddly enough, also I do believe named Jesus. But from reading what I've read, I'm pretty sure it's not the same guy. Anyway, that being said, do we think these people that want to usher in the end of the world, is somehow it really a good idea that we start lessening sanctions against them? I don't understand the logic of the Obama administration when it comes to some of the things that they're doing. I don't know, maybe if Leonard Nimoy was still around, he could drop into a Spock voice and make me understand it, because I don't see the logic here. You know, you're gonna reward people that want to kill you by lessening sanctions. And let's not forget, anybody remember where Valerie Jarrett was originally from? Anybody? Bueller? I'll give you 3 guesses and the first 2 don't count. I'm not saying it on the air because I've said it before. Look it up. You'll be surprised if you didn't already know the answer. That's your homework for the day. Do a search on Valerie Jarrett. Tell me where she was born. You will be surprised by the answer if you don't already know. And then some of the things that this idiot are doing will probably make sense because she's got his ear. Things that make you go, that's the top of my list, let me tell you. So yeah, when you got a second, look it up. Email me back, hit me up on Twitter, let me know what you find. Let me know if you're as disturbed as I am. Yes, I know the answer. No, I'm not telling you. Wahaha. I give you my opinions as much as possible, but I do also want you to learn, and this is very important. So, yes, you, young grasshopper, I know you're listening to me. You need to use Google. Exercise your Google fool. Show me what it is that you can do. Okay, I'm being silly. But yeah, seriously, you need to look that up. Because, it's a little scary. Alright, I think we're going to go ahead and take a bit of a break, and then we will be right back. This one will probably run, because I didn't realize I was already halfway into the show, probably will run for about an hour. Then what I may do is I do have one of my favorite interview pieces queued up, because since I did get a late start, we probably won't have anything else on the air until we change over to bring you Liberty Unfiltered, which is returning to the airwaves this evening at 8 p.m., we'll be doing that as a join in progress, so you won't hear me come on, won't hear much of anything else. We're just going to point the server in their direction and bring it to you in its entirety. I'll have it up as a podcast probably tomorrow sometime for any of you who can't listen to it live. But yeah, we're just going to let the automated stuff kind of take care of that one for me because it's a pretty easy changeover. Anyway, let me get a couple things queued up here, then we're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we will be right back, continuing on with the madness. And by the end of the show, maybe you, just like me, can ask yourself, when the hell did we wake up in the Twilight Zone? Because I'm telling you, we're there. You may not realize it yet, but I'm telling you, we are definitely there. Some scary stuff. Alright, folks, this is America Off the Rails. I am your host, Rick Robinson. We'll be right back with you as soon as we make an attempt to pay some bills.
This is Misty, owner of Wax It Studio in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I'm here to talk to you about a skincare product called Theramedics. Theramedics has a wonderful line of products from anti-aging to hyperpigmentations all the way to acne. In fact, everyone at some point in our life is affected by acne. Acne can cause a great deal of embarrassment and anxiety, and in order to prevent and help other people, I have tapped into this wonderful product called Theramedics. Visit my website at www.prettyskindeep.com. Again, that's www.prettyskindeep.com.
Tune into The Family Factor with Denny C. every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning at 5 a.m. as he looks at all the challenges facing the family today. Denny will give you a refreshingly new look at tackling some of the biggest issues. So start your day off on the right foot with Denny C. and The Family Factor, right here on K98Talk.com.
Hi, I'm Steve Long of Liberty Unfiltered. If you're tired of hearing the same Republican and Democrat banner from the mainstream media, join me on Wednesday nights at 9 H Central as I crawl out of the cesspool of partisan politics and bring the fight for freedom against the advocates of big government to the masses.
The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program America Off the Rail. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
Hey folks, it's your good friend Rick here. Just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for this upcoming half hour. That would be Rolling on the Floor, LaughingMyButtOff.com. If you do the things that I do every day, even a little bit of them, where you're spending all your time trying to understand the news, reading through the headlines, peering through things, trying to see if you can understand the mess that we find ourselves in today, occasionally you do need to have a good laugh. I myself personally visit Rolling on the Floor, LaughingMyButtOff.com at least 2 to 3 times a day. It's really easy to find. You can go there by putting the www and the dot in the front, first letter of each one of those words right next to each other, then a .com on the end. That will put you there. Again, that is www.rotflmbo.com. New content added weekly, and it is very funny stuff. And occasionally, like I said, one of the things that us conservatives, and I'm going to steal this from Bunny, who was on with Grouchy the other night, one of the things that us conservatives need to do is remember that it is still okay to laugh. All right, we'll be right back here in just a couple seconds. We'll continue the show, and we'll be right back into it here in just a second. I know, I said that once already. Joys of trying to do live commercials. It's not as easy as it sounds.
For her own cause, we got a pen and telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, lest you pray to Jesus Christ. The press is in our pockets cause there's no longer free. You cannot make a move now that the NSA can see. Don't expect equality, respect.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. This is America Off the Rails. I am your host, Rick Robinson. We're going to continue right basically where we left off, except now I do have a few clips I'd like to play as far as some of the left's overreaction to the Netanyahu speech. Actually, I'll let Tingles dig his own grave here. Give me a second while I get our good buddy Chris Matthews queued up, and we'll let you hear exactly what he had to say.
Do you think that this is Netanyahu right, that the president can't be trusted on getting a secure deal out of Iran?
Well, that's, I'll get to the heart of this speech now. This man from a foreign government walked into the United States legislative chamber and tried to take over U.S. foreign policy. Mm-hmm. He said, you should trust me, not your president, on this. I am the man you should trust. I am your true leader on this question of U.S. geopolitics. To protect yourself, you must listen to me and not to this president. It was a startling situation to allow someone to come in knowing that that was going to be their message in the chamber of the U.S. Congress. This was a decision made by and certainly complied with by Netanyahu and his ambassador Dermer. They went into the U.S. Congress to take over U.S. foreign policy today from the president. It's a remarkable day when the leaders of the opposition in Congress allowed this to happen. Think it through. What country in the world would let a foreign leader come in and attempt to wrest from the president control of U.S. foreign policy. And that's what the applause was about today. That was what the battle of applauses was about, to take power away from the president. So we'll see. It may succeed. We may see that there's going to be a lot more legislative intent here in terms of any treaty, a stronger push by Congress to insist on a vote up or down on any treaty. But clearly that was what was going on here.
When it comes
This was a takeover attempt by Netanyahu with his complying American partners to take American foreign policy out of the hands of the president.
Chris, as you say, it was stunning, especially...
Oh, tingles, tingles, tingles. Whatever shall we do with you? I have a few suggestions, most of which I can't make on the air. But, I mean, come on. For all of you talking head idiots out there, did you even bother to listen to the speech before you made comments? Never once did he say, I'm right, Obama's wrong, deal with it. There's nothing anywhere near like that came out of his mouth. Let's face it, he could have buried Obama with some of the stupid crap that has happened with his administration in the last 6 months. You know it. We've all read about it. It's all out there. He didn't do it. He could have. He could have laid all of this, well, you guys are threatening to shoot down my planes if I try to defend my own nation's sovereignty. Has anybody forgotten that he doesn't need to lead the United States? Mr. Matthews, he's already the prime minister of a country. And yes, I know there are plenty of conservatives out there, and I know they were trying to do it as a joke, but I could hear all the liberal heads exploding when I started seeing and reading all these comments about I wish Netanyahu could run in 2016. No. Although I guess, you know, if you buy into the whole birth certificate thing, I guess we've already had a non-natural born citizen as a president, which violates the Constitution. So, hey, maybe Netanyahu does have a shot. What the hell do I know? Like I said, at this point, I'm really just kind of feel like we've all landed in the Twilight Zone, and I honestly am not quite sure what to do. Other than keep doing what I do, which is keep swinging, because I'm not going down without a fight, damn it, and I hope none of you are either. But at this point, I don't know. Maybe that's been part of my problem, because, you know, I mean, for those of you who know me, and I've talked about it on the air before, I've been pretty sick for like 6 weeks. Finally starting to feel better, getting back into the swing of things, and then we have all of this crap. We have Tingles talking about how Israel basically tried to co-opt the foreign policy of the United States. Put down the crack pipe and back away slowly, Mr. Matthews, because you, sir, are a dumbass. Now, as far as some of the other stuff that's going on, because there's more, but yeah, you know what, actually, hang on. Before I change gears, I forgot I do have one other clip I wanted to play. Get the airsick bags ready. You know you're gonna need them. Yeah, you know who I'm about to queue up. You don't want to hear him any more than I do, but I gotta do my job.
Impressions about how we're planning our drawdown and transition in Afghanistan, and talk about some other regional issues. One issue that we will be discussing is Iran, and obviously that's been a topic of great interest today, so let me just make a couple of comments on that. I did not have a chance to watch Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech. I was on a video conference with our European partners with respect to Ukraine. I did have a chance to take a look at the transcript.
If his video conference went anything like his teleprompters, it was probably entertaining.
The Prime Minister, I think, appropriately pointed out that the bond between the United States and America is unbreakable, and on that point I thoroughly agree. He also pointed out that Iran has been a dangerous regime and continues to engage in activities that are contrary to the interests of the United States, to Israel, and to the region. And on that, we agree. He also pointed out the fact that Iran has repeatedly threatened Israel and engaged in the most venomous of anti-Semitic statements, and no one can dispute that.
We just don't want to do anything about it.
which is how do we prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon, which would make it far more dangerous and would give it scope for even greater action in the region. The Prime Minister didn't offer any viable alternatives. So let's be clear about what exactly...
Let me be clear.
The central concern should be both for the United States and for Israel. I've said since before I became president that one of my primary goals...
Anyway, sorry, I can't listen anymore. He basically goes on and says one of his primary concerns and goals since he's became president was to try to make certain that Iran did not obtain nuclear weapons. However, how he seems to think less sanctions is a good thing. Again, the answer to that question is built into your homework assignment. So, go look it up. Where was she born? I know some of you already know. No cheating. No telling your neighbors. Make them do the work themselves. Let's see if we can get a few light bulbs to come on this week. Shall we? Excellent. Alright, so that is about all I can take of that guy today. He who I usually try to let remain nameless. Yeah. Although I guess I have to talk about him at least one more time. He that shall remain nameless did veto Keystone Pipeline. The newly, I almost said erected. I swear I have that Chinese joke always stuck in my head. Especially when I'm doing live radio. Because, you know, there's always that Chinese joke about Chinese guy trying to say election, it comes out erection. The newly elected majority Senate could not override the veto. However, senators have vowed to continue fighting, and the next step is some sort of a border permit to allow something to continue. I'm not sure. Just heard about that on the way home. Thought I would add it into the holy crap, we are in the Twilight Zone, because I really thought now that we had a majority, we were actually going to start being able to get things done. But no. Nope. You know, never mind the fact that both parties really kind of want the same stuff. As soon as the one you don't like is in power, all of a sudden everything has to come to a grinding halt. Yeehaw! That's just the way this country works. And that's the way our economy is going to continue to crumble. Because we're all stupid. And don't believe me, you know, go listen to some of Obama's advisors. He specifically said the American people are stupid, and if you don't think that they think that, then you're really not paying attention. So don't get pissed off at me. We're the ones that have given the folks that used to work for us the impression that we're too stupid to know what we ought to be doing. So we need to work on that. I'm going to ask you to get on top of that and get started right now, because I'm tired of everybody thinking we're all a bunch of idiots. Because not all of us are. I'm not necessarily throwing myself into that same group, but I do know a lot of people that aren't idiots. Just saying. Okay, so, you know, I said I wasn't going to talk about him anymore, but I forgot. I have another clip of his, because it kind of ties into the other reason that I think he's gone pretty soft on Iran. So, get the bags ready again.
We see faith driving us to do right. But we also see faith being twisted and distorted, used as a wedge, or worse, sometimes used as a weapon. From a school in Pakistan to the streets of Paris,
who the hell
we have
says
seen violence
Pakistan?
And terror perpetrated by those who profess to stand up for faith, their faith. Profess to stand up for Islam, but in fact are betraying it. We see ISIL, a brutal, vicious death cult that,
oh, look,
in the name
ISIL
of
today.
religion,
There'll be ISIS tomorrow.
carries out unspeakable acts of barbarism, terrorizing religious minorities like the Yazidis, subjecting women to rape as a weapon of war, and claiming the mantle of religious authority for such actions. We see sectarian war in the murder of Muslims and Christians in Nigeria, religious war in the Central African Republic, a rising tide of anti-Semitism and hate crimes in Europe.
Talk about the religious war going
so
on
often
everywhere else,
perpetrated in the name of religion. So how do we, as people of faith, reconcile these realities? The profound good, the strength, the tenacity, the compassion and love that can flow from all of our faiths, operating alongside those who seek to hijack religious for their own murderous ends. Humanity's been grappling with these questions throughout human history. And lest we get on our high horse and think this is unique to some other place, remember that during the Crusades and the Inquisition, people committed terrible deeds in the name of Christ.
Okay, so again, that's about all I can stomach of that guy. He goes on for, good Lord, another minute and a half. I don't know about you, but I really was about to need that air sick bag. So, the reason I bring this up is because, these same people that he's talking about, all these, people that are trying to pervert the religion of Islam, these are the same people that he wants to decrease sanctions on. And I know I've said that earlier in the show, but I just wanted these two things to kind of sink in. Because, did you notice what he did there at the very end? Well, I say the very end, but the very end of the part that I let you hear. Because I really was about done. He compared what's going on now to the Crusades. Remember what I said earlier about those who don't understand history are doomed to repeat it? Anybody bother to look into why the Crusades actually started? The Crusades were a response to the religion of Islam's earlier attempt to bring about a caliphate. Anybody else ever notice that at some point they made it all the way to Spain? Look at where they are. Look at their part of the world. Look at how far they made it. Before Christians said, we can't let this happen. This is bad. And yes, they did terrible, horrible, unspeakable things. And I'm sure there are people, if they were alive today, that would basically just be in tears over the things that both had them done to them during the Crusades and the ones that did them during the Crusades. But let's again be really, really honest with ourselves. The Crusades were a response to a religious perversion out of control. I'll give the left that, because I don't know how else, any other way to put it, unless you're just going to lump all of the Muslims into the same basket, and I'm not willing to do that. I can't do that. I have to give people the benefit of the doubt. Until they show me otherwise, I have to at least try to give them the benefit of the doubt, because that's how I am. I can't just take an entire group of religious people and say, well, hang on, I say that, maybe except for the Scientologist. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Miss Roseanne, I hope you weren't listening. Mr. Cruz, hope you don't mind. But yeah, you guys are a bunch of nut bars. But yeah, that's another story. I can say that about Scientologists. They're not going to come after me and try to kill me. Well, they might, but good luck with that. I'm just saying, come on, it's Tom Cruise. Dude can't even jump on a couch without looking retarded. Come on, I know you saw that episode of Oprah. Everybody did. Don't look at me like that. Alright, so anyway. I mean, it's just one of those things where we need to pay really close attention to what's going on. Not only there, but here, and the things that are going on behind the scenes. And again, why am I trying to tie all of these things together? Because it's very important to your homework assignment. No, I haven't forgotten. Neither should you. If you haven't yet, you really need to look up Valerie Jarrett and read a little bit about her family's history. And I'm telling you, there will be a light bulb that will go off, but instead of it going bing, it's going to go holy beep. I had no idea. It's all starting to make sense now. No wonder this guy is behaving the way he is towards these people. I'm telling you, it will start to make sense. I promise it's gonna. I promise. Okay, I'm done with that. But anyway, so, it's just one of those things where, we have Pelosi turning her back on Netanyahu. We have, and actually one of the clips I meant to get and didn't do it was Jon Stewart proclaiming that was the longest blowjob that any Jewish man had gotten in history. I think a certain Jewish man was a little jealous. But anyway, so that being said, lately, Stuart, I've kind of liked you because you've been pretty straight shooting when it comes to the fact that Obama's a dumbass. But I didn't agree with you on this one because he wasn't disrespectful. If anything, he was more respectful than I expected him to be because he had grounds not to be. He was gracious. He actually referenced former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid by name. Talked about how he was glad he was feeling better. Talked about how U.S. and Israeli relations are unbreakable, unbendable, and how even though nobody here really understood it, the Obama administration had been helping Israel. We all know he's full of crap, but at least he was doing what a politician is supposed to do. You don't come into somebody's house and start flinging shit all over the rug. You don't do that. Especially when they're gracious enough to invite you. At least, somebody did. It was more like being invited over by one of the stepkids, but hey, And that's the other thing that I've seen going on lately, is everybody's all like, oh my God, why would he be coming over here right before an election? I'm like, I don't know, but who really cares? Because the simple fact of the matter is, that was one of the better speeches I've heard in Congress in quite some time. Just saying. And no, I'm not saying that I wish Netanyahu was our president, just like I didn't wish that Putin was our president, because I'm sure there are things that are going on there that we will probably never know about, much like we are slowly starting to find out about Mr. I rode shirtless on a horse because I thought it made me look good, never mind the fact that I should be wearing a bra. Putin, come on now. Anyway, alright, so this will start winding us down for the night. I'm going to go ahead, and I do have, like I said, I have an interview that I did recently with one of the guys from Voices of Global Freedom Radio that will go ahead and take us out. Runs for about 20 minutes for those of you who haven't heard it before. And then as soon as we get to the 8 o'clock hour, we will be switching over so that you can listen to Liberty Unfiltered with my good friend Steve Long. And then we will have me trying to talk take two. Liz Harrison Radio on starting at 9. And then I do believe it is Wednesday, so we should have Open Eyes with Ira, and then finish off the night with Late Night in the Midlands, running about midnight to 3. So again, a little bit later start than usual, but we did have nearly the usual 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. of uninterrupted content for your listening pleasure or displeasure, depending on whichever you prefer. But we are going to start winding things down for the evening. I will be back with you tomorrow night. Weather permitting, a lot closer to 6. If not, we will be here and we will run it. And I may or may not, if I do have to get a late start, I may or may not cut the first one short, because we are going to start, last I checked, doing Wake Up America tomorrow evening on its new regular day and time of Thursday evening at 7 o'clock. That is, of course, Central. I do live in the Central Time Zone, so as a habit, I do typically give out the Central Time slots. However, I'm really got to get used to the fact that we have hosts and shows that now run all over the country, because I'll invariably get a message from somebody and be like, for that meeting that we're supposed to have here in a little bit, was that Central Time or Eastern? Or yeah, happens all the time. But anyway, folks, we're going to shut it down for the night. I'll be back with you tomorrow. Hang around for a few more minutes. You'll get to hear an interview that I did with the Voices of Global Freedom Radio crew, and then we will be back with you tomorrow. And don't forget, here in just a little bit, we'll be changing gears. You can hear Steve Long, host of Liberty Unfiltered. Until I talk to you again, do hope everybody has a good night. Don't forget, it is time to find a way to get involved. Put down the remote. Get off the couch. Find a way to make a difference. Write a blog. Get involved with someone that's running for office that you agree with. There's all kinds of ways. If you have any questions or you have ideas of ways that maybe we can start helping get folks involved, hit me up on Twitter. You can also reach me on email at ricky@thesparkradionetwork.com. You can also find me on Facebook. I am on, in the words of my good buddy Dave, the Facebook and the Twitter. Twitter handle, _R_OKC. Facebook, www.facebook.com/Rowdy Ricky Robinson. Send me a friend's request. Shoot me a message. We'll talk. We'll hang out. We'll do virtual lunch. What can I say? I'm a cheap guy. Virtual lunch is all you're going to get. All right. We are out for the night, folks. You take care.
Welcome to Voices of Global Freedom Radio.
We are bragging about being on your syndicate with Sparks Radio Network and K98 for the audience benefit. This, on the line with us, delighted he called in, is Rick Robinson, the Grand Poobah of Sparks Radio Network. Rick, tell the audience how they can find you on the internet, please.
Well, there's several places you can find us. If you're looking specifically for the Spark Radio network, we do actually have our own website. It's just like it sounds, www.thesparkradionetwork.com. We also, through a business partner of mine, I have started an online station that I am the general manager of, as well as the managing partner of the network that I'm building, and that is K98talk.com. As far as the various ways you can find the shows, at this point they're about being disseminated everywhere. My show, America Off the Rails, is available on iHeartRadio. It's available on TuneIn Radio anytime the station is live with my broadcast. It's also available through Spreaker. You can find some of our older episodes, if you're adventurous, right here on Blog Talk Radio. And also, I have recently been picked up by Stitcher. So pretty much, if you don't know how to find me, it's mainly because you're not looking for me. Just saying.
Stitcher is quite an accomplishment, isn't it?
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
We are also told that you've been accepted by the Conservative Talk Radio Directory. Congratulations, Rick.
Thank you very much for that. It's actually, no one was more surprised by that than I am, to be quite frankly honest. But I'm really hard on myself when it comes to this kind of stuff. So I hear from people all the time what a great job we do, and I'm just like, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's really, for me, the biggest thing, honestly, and this is going to sound a little weird because, I'm on a website now with Sean Hannity and some of the others, but for me, the biggest one that kind of stands out as to just my aha moment of making it onto something like that lists, I think it's there's 100 different talk show hosts on there, but the one that stood out for me was the Jerry Doyle show, because he's now a conservative talk show host, but he used to be, and well, he still is, he's an actor, but he used to play on some shows that I watched while I was late teens, early 20s, like Babylon 5. And I'm a pretty big sci-fi junkie as well as a politics junkie. So the fact that I'm on a website that has my picture a few rows below his just kind of really made my day. Just saying.
You're an Asimov kind of guy. Are you?
much anything but the kitchen, everything, including the kitchen sink kind of guy when it comes right down to
Yeah.
it. I have an eclectic group of interests all the way around.
We always have also, it's quite an honor to be on the Conservative Talk Radio directory. It really is. We're pleased. Ken, the fearless leader, like you, the firm hand of the Conservative Talk directory, is forming a new board of directors. Backpack and I and Janorama, founding editor of the MagnifiedView.com, are really honored to be members of that board of directors of the directory, Rick. So we're tickled to death, really. We're working closely with Ken. Yeah, I talked with him the other day, Backpack and I did, and he's a real pleasure and privilege, he said, to have you on there.
Well, it's definitely my honor. So the next time you speak to him, just pass along my gratitude, because it's, like I said, it's just to be on the same webpage with some of those guys after spending so many years listening to folks like Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh and even Jerry Doyle, which is honestly my number one pick out of that list, just because I am sci-fi junkie as well as political junkie. But just to be even on that website at all is just a complete honor for me. So the next time you talk to him, just tell him I said thanks again.
I will. Ken's listing us under 5 categories. One of them is top news picks. So within the directory, he has a bunch of categories, for best producer and best this and that, and top news picks. And we were really thrilled that he's included us along with Hannity, Limbaugh, and others. So we're doing something right. We sure intend to keep doing it with you, Rick.
Yeah, I would definitely say you guys are definitely doing not only doing some good, but also doing the right thing. Because like you said, he's got you guys in several different categories in there, and the fact that I'm even in one of them is amazing to me. So the fact that you guys are in there multiple times just speaks volumes as to the work you're doing. So hats off to both of you.
We thank. We're going to promote the Sparks Radio Network. I understand. Backpack told me that you've invited us on your show.
Yes, sir.
Well, we're excited about that.
At this point, I think, unless something's changed, I think we were looking at, this Thursday's upcoming episode. Is that correct?
Good to go.
Yes.
All right.
We're good to go.
So we'll be on.
A lot breaking in the world to talk about, I'll tell you. What's the name of your show, Rick?
The show that I do that's on Monday through Friday and then on Saturday mornings to afternoon is America Off the Rails.
How long have you been on radio?
Coming up on, we started February 2013, so coming up on 2 years in a couple of weeks, scarily enough.
What surprises have you had? Good ones, bad ones, any kind?
Honestly, I really haven't had any bad surprises. I mean, because honestly, this started out with no expectations at all. It was just something that I decided I was going to try to find a way to do, and I felt like it was a way for me to try to make a difference. And for me, there really haven't been any bad surprises. The biggest surprises is realizing that there are so many people out there that hold the same type of views that I do, because I spent, way too much time listening to, as we all in the business now call them, the mainstream media. And you just really start to feel like there's nobody else out there who thinks and feels the way you do when you don't hold those same values. And for me, the biggest surprises and the nicest surprises are when I get emails or when I get interaction from Twitter and I hear from folks that say, hey, I listened to your show the other day. You're saying the exact things that I believe and the exact things that I wanted to hear, and I'm so glad you're out there as a voice. And I'm sure you guys get those same kind of emails too. So, I mean, for me, there really aren't any bad surprises, at least not so far. I'm getting more well-known now, so I'm sure some bad surprises are probably coming soon, but I will take them as I roll with the punches, just like I do pretty much anything else.
We're getting emails, Ricky Robinson. They want to know what your background is.
My background actually is former law enforcement, also some state work here and there. As far as broadcasting experience, up until I started this, I really didn't have any. But I did spend quite a few years in uniform for both private and public sector. So that's basically the gist of my background.
I was self-employed for nearly over a decade after I got out of public sector work. I ran a security firm and a private investigations firm until the economy crashed in 2008. And when that started going out of business, I basically took a job that I thought I was going to hate just to make sure I could put food on my family's table. And since then, I've been doing a lot of customer service work, which has helped me, I think, refine a lot of the skills I needed to be able to start doing things like this. So, not really anything great.
Sorry, Rick. I don't know that we ever discussed it. We have been active in the counter-terrorist business since 1974. That's why, to this day, we work with major intel and law enforcement, federal and allied agencies. That's why we appear under the pen names Yoda and Backpack. We started in 74, Rick, with the Munich massacre of the Israelis. So we've taught counterterrorism to major organizations around the world since then. I'm older than a rock, as you know. We're still active in counterterrorism. We've got a bit in common, don't we? Were you sworn somewhere?
Yes.
Were you sworn as an officer somewhere?
Yes.
Good on you, brother. Well, we've got a lot in common, more than we knew, don't we, Backpack?
Yeah, we do, definitely. And Ricky Robinson has been featuring Voices of Global Freedom Radio on Drive Prime Time every Friday on the SparkRadioNetwork.com, so that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, anytime you guys are up on the website, you're also up on our TuneIn feed, so it literally actually does become drive time for anybody who has access to the app with all the smart card technology we have out there now.
That's great.
We're going to promote your network on magnifiedview.com. So we'll be doing press releases, we'll be doing other promotions, we'll be running your show and your lineup, Rick. How far in advance do you book guests usually?
Actually, as of right now, for my show, I haven't actually started moving to a guest format because up until now we couldn't support it. I have been working out technical issues over the last couple of weeks, and at this point I do believe we haven't worked out well enough where I would like to start booking guests. As of now, my calendar's open, so if you guys have any suggestions or anybody that you think would be a good fit, after you may want to hang out on the show first, kind of see how it usually goes, or maybe go back and listen to some of the older episodes. But at this point, I am going to start trying to move towards having guests on that show, but up until now, it's basically just been me ranting and talking about the major news events of the day with a few sound clips thrown in, just to make sure it's not just me talking over and over again.
Because of our contacts and Backpack's hard work, we have a stunning guest. It includes Representative Darrell Issa, Duncan Hunter, general officers, Pulitzer nominee journalists, Fox News anchors, and just a stunning lineup. Lately, we've got some Egyptians that have left Islam, pretty famous guys. I think you ran one of our programs where IQ, what's his name?
IQ Razuli
has offered care under the Muslim Brotherhood, that umbrella of evil. He's offered them $1 million to prove him wrong about Islam, and they can't come near him. So we have a stunning lineup of guests. I'm sure a lot of them would love to be on your program.
Well, I'm definitely open, and like I said, for the moment, my calendar is wide open because I hadn't actually started booking guests yet. So
we believe firmly in cross-promotion. We don't want to hide our light under a bushel, somebody said. So you've sure been great to us, and we hope we've been good for you, Rick. We want to know you a long, long time.
Oh, it's definitely been mutually beneficial, and like I tell everybody else, I'm either going to keep doing this until I've no longer got breath or until I've no longer got an internet connection, whichever one happens first.
Well, I'm still sitting around doing it, Backpack's doing it, and cops and agents pick us up and drive us around, and it couldn't get any better, could it, Backpack?
Oh, it's great. We're excited about 2015, and Ricky, if you just want to speak to what are some of the rantings that you've had about 2015 and the abomination and that sort of thing?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing, and you guys kind of touched on one of them right as I was about to call in. It took me a minute to get queued back in because, of course, Spreaker, or not Spreaker, but Blog Talk shuts everything down as you're trying to call in. But Yoda was referring to the whole debacle with Cuba now. And I guess the thing that drives me crazy about that is libertarians and the more liberal-leaning folks that are talking about what a great thing this is going to be for both their economy and ours. And they don't seem to take into account the very things that Yoda mentioned, which basically we've now, again, with a very porous southern border, swung our doors wide open, and now anybody that wants to come in from there is basically going to be able to find a way to do it, and we could have spies from pretty much anywhere that's communist in the world at this point pouring in, and nobody's going to know the difference. And it's the same reason over and over again, while I keep talking about if they really want immigration reform, the first thing they need to do is block the doors on the border, because at this point, we have people coming from countries to the south of us that have bases from other countries that hate us. And I hate to say, and people get on me for this all the time, but if you stand someone of Muslim descent next to a Mexican and they're wearing the same clothes, you can't tell them apart. That's not racial profiling, that's just common sense. So if they really want things to change, the first thing they need to do is make sure that our borders are secure, and then we can take a look at this immigration mess that they keep wanting to talk about. But for now, all we keep doing is making more and more things available to more and more people that hate us, and eventually it's going to blow up on our faces.
Point well made, Rick. Sorry, you'll know in law enforcement, we work closely with ICE and the Border Patrol. We've got a reputation in hostage and barricade negotiation and training. The Border Patrols have been in their own handcuffs for a couple years now. They've been told to withdraw from firefights, from gunfights. Of course, the cartels know this, so they're sending their mules over, people with drugs now and human trafficking. They're sending them over with AKs, secure that our valorous, heroic Border Patrol has to retreat, virtually surrender from that. Is that the damnedest thing? Also, they are picking up Hezbollah recently, ISIS, some Korans on our side of the border. So no question, Hezbollah, now a couple ISIS flags have been found on our side of the border. I don't see it ever shutting down. Do you, Backpack or Ricky?
Yeah, what are your thoughts, Ricky, on that?
I mean, at this point, I really don't see any way of fixing it without doing a full reset down there because, and to be honest, this all stems back to one of the biggest things that everybody's been throwing a fit about is this whole immigration mandate that Obama came up with. That was the most pointless thing that he ever did other than just to thumb his nose at the American people and say, I know I told you I couldn't do this because I'm not a king, but look what I'm doing now. Because the bottom line point is, with the policies he already has in place, only 1% of anyone who comes across his border illegally is ever going to face any type of interdiction from ICE. And it's designed that way on purpose at this point. So all he's doing now is basically flaunting his executive powers, showing the people and the rest of the government that he's going to do what he wants whenever the heck he wants to do it, and the rest of us can just sit back and do nothing but try to vote for change. And now that we have all these Republicans that are supposed to be in here, so far from what I've seen from them, it seems like they're not really doing too much any different so far either. That's my biggest concern about 2015 and 2016 is so far, I know they've only been in office for a couple of weeks now, but so far I just see Boehner and McConnell basically just kind of going along with whatever the president wants at this point, and I really hope at some point they find their spines again.
So do we. They're making a list of what they can't do. They keep adding to the list. Radio's about to shut it down for a couple minutes. I don't want it to be abrupt. Wrap it up for us, Rick. We're delighted to work with you. It's enormous mutual benefit. Moreover, a huge benefit to our audiences. So we'll let you wrap it up, brother.
Well, thanks again for having me on, just for even this brief a time, and I do look forward to having you guys on Thursday. Just to wrap things up, you asked what my biggest thoughts and fears were for 2015. At this point, like I said, I'm just hoping that at this point the Republicans start telling the president what they can do. by pushing everything through the houses and making him veto every single thing that they want done, so that by the time it is time for the 2016 election, they have a list of this is what we've tried to do, this is what the president has stopped us from doing. So we need our person, whoever that might be, please for the love of God, not Bush or Christie, to be the one that comes into the office so that we can move forward and actually get these things done. Now, whether that happens or not remains to be seen. But if Boehner and McConnell don't find their spines, I'm not holding my breath.
We thank you, Ricky Robinson. It's been a great interview with you, and Mel Flynn, Hollywood president of Republicans. Thank you so much. We're happy to be syndicated with K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network and TopTalkRadio.com. Thank you so much, Ricky. Have a great weekend.
Talk to you off air. Thanks. Let me join back, Pat. Good to know you, brother. We'll know each other a long time.
Thank you.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later.
Game over, man.